Her late-night text meant for family reaches a stranger instead, a billionaire with a broken past. As Amaya's due date nears, one wrong number becomes her lifeline, and maybe her future. Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The alarm blared for the third time. Lena's heart groaned and finally forced her eyes open. The red numbers on her clock showed 5:15 a.m. She had exactly 45 minutes to get herself and Javi ready before rushing to her morning shift at Sunnyside Cafe. Another day, she whispered to herself, pushing back the thin blanket. Her body ached from yesterday's cleaning job. 6 hours on her feet scrubbing office bathrooms after a full day at the cafe, but bills didn't pay themselves, especially not with a growing 5-year-old boy. "Javi, honey," she called, gently shaking her son's small shoulder. "Time to wake up, buddy." Javi turned over, his dark curls wild on the pillow. His eyes, so much like his father's, blinked open. "Is Daddy here today?" he asked, the same question. He'd asked every morning for the past year. Lena swallowed the lump in her throat. "No, honey. Remember what we talked about? Daddy had to go away for a long time." What she didn't say was that Marco had simply walked out one day, claiming he wasn't cut out for family life. No warning, no real goodbye to his son, just gone. Leaving them with 3 months of unpaid rent and a broken-down car. "Get dressed while I make breakfast, okay?" She ruffled his hair and headed to their tiny kitchen. 20 minutes later, they were out the door. Lena dropped Javi at Mrs. Garcia's apartment. The elderly woman watched Javi before school for a reduced rate, since Lena always brought her fresh pastries from the cafe. "You look tired, girl," Mrs. Garcia said, her wrinkled hands accepting the paper bag of muffins. "Just the usual," Lena answered with a forced smile. "Thanks again for watching him." "De nada, mija, you work too hard." The morning shift at Sunnyside Cafe passed in a blur of coffee orders and breakfast plates. By 3 o'clock, Lena's feet were already throbbing, but she had just enough time to pick up Javi from after-school care and drop him at her sister Tina's place before catching the train to her evening job. "You can't keep this up," Tina said, watching as Lena knelt to hug Javi goodbye. "You look like a zombie." "I don't have a choice, Tina," Lena said quietly, not wanting Javi to hear. "The cleaning job pays better than waitressing and we need the money. You could move in with us, Jack wouldn't mind. In your 1-bedroom with the baby coming? No way." Lena shook her head. "We're fine, I'm fine." But she wasn't fine. As she rushed to catch the 5:15 train into the city, Lena could feel exhaustion weighing on her like concrete. Her eyes burned. Her back ached. The train platform swam in front of her eyes as she waited. When the train finally arrived, it was packed, with commuters heading home, while she was heading to work. Lena squeezed inside, barely finding room to stand. The doors closed and the train lurched forward. She reached for a handrail but couldn't quite grab it. As the train took a curve, Lena stumbled sideways. "Excuse me?" she mumbled, finding herself pressed against the arm of a man in an expensive-looking suit. She tried to straighten up, but there was nowhere to move. "It's fine," a deep voice said. The man shifted slightly, making room for her to hold the rail. Lena nodded her thanks without really looking at him. The gentle rocking of the train, combined with her exhaustion, made her eyelids heavy. She tried to focus on the advertisements. Above the seats, counting the stops until she needed to get off. 5 stops. 4. 3. Without realizing it, Lena's head began to droop. The rhythmic movement of the train was like a lullaby. Her eyes closed for what she meant to be just a second. The next thing she knew, her cheek was pressed against something firm but comfortable, something that smelled faintly of cedar and clean laundry, something that was moving gently up and down, a shoulder, a man's shoulder. Lena jerked upright, horror flooding through her. She had fallen asleep on a complete stranger. "I'm so sorry," she gasped, her face burning with embarrassment. "I didn't mean to." "You looked like you hadn't rested in a long time," the man said, his voice calm and surprisingly kind. "I didn't mind." For the first time, Lena actually looked at him, tall, with broad shoulders filling out his charcoal suit, dark hair neatly trimmed with a few strands falling across his forehead, strong jawline with just a hint of stubble, but it was his eyes that caught her, warm brown with tiny crinkles at the corners, like he smiled often. Lena started, but the train announcer cut her off. Central Station. This is Central Station. Oh no, Lena groaned. I missed my stop. She'd been supposed to get off 2 stations ago. Now she'd be late for work. I'm sorry, the man said, looking genuinely concerned. I should have woken you. Not your fault, Lena said, already pushing toward the doors. I shouldn't have fallen asleep on a stranger. Calder, he said suddenly. What? My name is Calder. Calder Rowe. Now I'm not a stranger. Despite her panic about being late, Lena found herself smiling. Lena Hart. Nice to meet you, Lena Hart, he said as the doors opened. Hope you make it to wherever you're going. She hurried off the train, already dialing her supervisor to explain why she'd be late. As the train pulled away, she caught one last glimpse of Calder Rowe through the window. He was watching her, a slight smile on his face. He lifted his hand in a small wave. Lena felt something flutter in her chest, something she hadn't felt in a very long time. I think someone has a crush on you, Janet teased as they wiped down desks in the large office building. Don't be ridiculous, Lena said, emptying a trash can into her cart. I fell asleep on the poor guy. He was just being polite. Then why are you smiling? Lena touched her face, not realizing she had been. I'm not, she lied. I'm just... It was nice, that's all. Nice to be treated kindly by a stranger for no reason. Men always have reasons, Janet said wisely. She was 56 and had been cleaning offices for 30 years, especially men in expensive suits. Well, it doesn't matter anyway, Lena said, moving to the next cubicle. I'll probably never see him again. But the next evening, as Lena boarded the same train, her heart skipped when she spotted a familiar figure. Calder Rowe sat in the same spot as yesterday, reading something on a tablet. He looked up as if sensing her, and their eyes met. Lena hesitated, then made her way toward him. The seat beside him was empty. Is this seat taken? She asked, feeling oddly nervous. Calder smiled, and those crinkles appeared at the corners of his eyes. It is now, he said, moving his briefcase to make room for her. Lena sat down, keeping a careful distance between them. I wanted to apologize. Again for yesterday. I'm not usually in the habit of using strangers as pillows. No apology necessary, he said. Though I should warn you, I've been told I make an excellent pillow. It's my one special talent. Lena laughed, surprised by his easy humor. I can confirm that's true. They fell into silence for a moment, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Finally, Calder spoke again. Rough day? Lena sighed. Just long. 2 jobs, plus a 5-year-old at home. Something flashed in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. You have a child? A son. Javi. Just saying his name made Lena smile. He's the reason. For everything I do, including working 2 jobs? Single mom, she explained with a small shrug. You do what you have to do. Calder nodded thoughtfully. What's your morning job? I'm a waitress at a cafe. The evening job is cleaning offices. Downtown. That's a lot, he said, and unlike when most people said it, there was no pity in his voice, just respect. What about you? Lena asked, eager to change the subject. What do you do? For a moment, Calder seemed to hesitate. I work in tech, he said finally. Nothing very exciting. Must pay well, Lena commented, glancing at his expensive watch. Immediately she regretted it. Sorry, that was rude. No, it's fine, he said with a smile. I've been fortunate. But trust me, the suit is more impressive than the man wearing it. Somehow Lena doubted that. The train slowed, approaching her stop. This is me, she said, standing up. Thanks for the conversation, it was nice. See you tomorrow, Calder asked, the question casual but his eyes intent. Lena bit her lip, then nodded. Maybe. I take this train most days. Me too, he said. Good. Night, Lena Hart. Good night, Calder Rowe. As Lena walked to her cleaning job, she felt lighter somehow. The conversation had been simple. Just small talk, really, but it had been nice. Normal. For a few minutes, she hadn't been an exhausted single mom working herself to the bone. She'd just been a woman talking to an attractive man on a train. The next night, Calder was there again, and the next. Each time Lena sat beside him, and they talked about small things, the weather, a funny customer at the cafe, the cartoon character Javi was obsessed with that week. One night, about 2 weeks after they'd met, Lena was especially tired. She'd been up most of the night with Javi, who'd had a nightmare about his father leaving again. "You okay?" Calder asked as she slumped into the seat beside him. "Just tired," she said, stifling a yawn. "Javi had a bad night." "Is he sick?" "No, just... he still asks about his dad a lot." Lena didn't know why she was telling him this. She never talked about Marco with anyone except Tina. "His father left us last year. No warning, no explanation, just gone." Calder's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "That's rough on both of you." "Javi's the one I worry about. He doesn't understand why his dad doesn't want to see him." "Some men don't deserve to be fathers," Calder said, his voice low and intense. The train swayed, and Lena felt her eyelids growing heavy again. Without thinking, she leaned her head back against the seat and closed her eyes. "You can use my shoulder again," Calder said softly, "if you want." Lena opened her eyes and looked at him. "Are you sure?" Instead of answering, he gently guided her, head to his shoulder. "Rest," he said. "I'll wake you at your stop." This time Lena didn't fight it. She let her head rest against his solid shoulder and closed her eyes. The last thing she remembered was the gentle pressure of his cheek resting against the top of her head. It became their routine. Each evening, Lena would board the train and find Calder waiting. They would talk quietly for a while, and then, as the exhaustion caught up with her, she would rest her head on his shoulder and sleep until her stop. Sometimes she wondered what other passengers thought, seeing this clearly wealthy man letting a woman in worn jeans and a waitress uniform sleep against him. But Calder never seemed to care. After 3 weeks, he started walking her from the train station to her cleaning job. "You don't have to do this," she protested the first time. "I know," he said simply. "I want to." He carried her heavy bag without being asked. Sometimes he brought coffee for her, always remembering exactly how she liked it. 1 sugar, lots of cream. Once he appeared with a small dinosaur toy. "Train station souvenir," he said with a grin. "You mentioned Javi likes dinosaurs." Lena had been touched beyond words. When she gave it to Javi that night, his eyes had lit up. "Is it from the train?" "Man?" he'd asked excitedly. "Yes," she'd answered, surprised. "How did you know about him?" "You smile when you talk about him," Javi had said with a child's simple honesty. "You never smile like that." That night, lying in bed, Lena had faced an uncomfortable truth. She was falling for Calder, a man she knew almost nothing about, a man who was clearly from a different world than hers, a man who had never even tried to kiss her, despite weeks of her literally sleeping on his shoulder. What was she doing? And more importantly, what was he doing? Men like him didn't spend high time with women like her without a reason. Janet's words came back to her. Men always have reasons. What was Calder's? The answer came sooner than she expected, and in the worst possible way. Javi woke up burning with fever one morning. Lena called in sick to the cafe and took him to the clinic. The diagnosis was strep throat. Nothing serious, but he needed rest and antibiotics. "I can't leave him," Lena told her cleaning supervisor over the phone. "He's too sick." "I'm sorry, Lena, but we need someone tonight. The Richardson contract is our biggest account. If those offices aren't cleaned properly, we could lose the contract. Please," Lena begged, "just for tonight." There was a pause. "Tell you what, you can bring your boy. There's a break room with a couch where he can rest while you work. Just this once." Relief flooded through Lena. "Thank you, we'll be there." With Javi's fever finally down thanks to medicine, Lena bundled him up and took him on the train. For the first time in weeks, she deliberately chose a different car, avoiding Calder. She didn't want him to see Javi sick, didn't want to explain why she was bringing her child to a cleaning job. The Richardson building was the largest and most modern in their portfolio, 50 floors of gleaming glass and steel. Lena had never worked there before, but Janet had warned her it was the toughest assignment. Executives who left major messes and expected perfection. The cleaning staff entrance is around back, the security guard told her, eyeing Javi with suspicion. It's just for tonight, Lena explained. He's sick and I couldn't find a sitter. The guard's face softened. Been there myself, he said. Break room is on the 3rd floor, he'll be comfortable there. Lena settled Javi on the break room couch with his dinosaur, a juice box and strict instructions to rest. Then she went to work. The offices were as intimidating as she'd feared. Massive glass-walled meeting rooms, state-of-the-art technology everywhere, modern art on the walls that probably cost more than she made in a year. She worked quickly, starting on the top executive floor. As she emptied a trash can near a corner, office, a large digital display caught her eye. It was cycling through images of the company's leadership team. The CEO appeared on screen, and Lena froze. Calder Rowe. There he was, in an even nicer suit than the ones he wore on the train. His name and title clearly displayed, Calder Rowe, founder and CEO, Richardson Technologies. Lena's hands trembled so badly she dropped the trash bag, spilling coffee cups and paper across the pristine floor. Richardson Technologies, the Richardson contract. She was cleaning Calder's company, and he had never told her. All this time he'd been pretending to be just some regular guy who worked in tech, when in reality he owned the entire company, probably the entire building. Hot tears of humiliation burned her eyes as she knelt to clean up the mess. All those evenings on the Chai train, all those times she'd fallen asleep on his shoulder, had it all been some kind of game to him? Poor tired cleaning lady falls asleep on billionaire's shoulder. What an amusing story for his rich friends. A noise from the doorway made her look up, and there he stood, Calder Rowe in his perfect suit, staring at her with wide, shocked eyes. "Lena?" he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "What are you doing here?" She stood up, dropping the trash into the bin with a loud clatter. "Apparently cleaning your office, Mr. Rowe. Or should I say, Mr. CEO?" The color drained from his face. "I can explain." "Explain what?" Lena cut him off. "That you've been lying to me for weeks, playing some kind of game." "No, it wasn't like that," he said, taking a step toward her. You just what?" she demanded, backing away. "Thought it would be fun to see how the other half lives, slumming it with the cleaning lady." "Lena, please," Calder said, his face twisted with what looked like genuine pain. "That's not what happened." "Then what did happen?" She was nearly shouting now. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you were keeping some pretty important information from me. Like the fact that you're not just some guy who works in tech. You're the CEO of one of the biggest tech companies in the city. I didn't tell you because it changes everything," he said quietly. "The minute people know who I am, they stop seeing me. They just see the money, the position." "Oh, poor little rich boy," Lena said, her voice thick with sarcasm and hurt. "It must be so hard having everyone know you're successful." "That's not fair," Calder said, his own temper finally showing. "You don't know what it's like." "And you don't know what it's like to be me," Lena shot back. "To work 2 jobs and still barely make ends meet. To have your son ask why daddy left and not have a good answer. To be so tired you fall asleep on 8. Public transportation." Calder's face softened. "You're right, I don't know what that's like. Did you laugh about it with your executive friends, the cleaning lady who fell asleep on your shoulder?" "Lena, no," he said, looking genuinely horrified. "I would never—" "Mommy?" A small voice interrupted from the doorway. Lena whirled around to see Javi standing there, clutching his dinosaur, his face still flushed with fever. "Javi, I told you to stay on the couch," she said, rushing to him. "I heard yelling," he said, his lower lip trembling. Then he spotted Calder. His eyes widened. "Are you the train man?" Calder looked at the boy, then at the dinosaur in his hand, the one Calder had given him. His expression was unreadable. "Yes," he said finally. "I'm the train man." Javi studied. Him seriously. "Why is Mommy mad at you?" "Because I wasn't honest with her," Calder said simply. "And that was wrong of me." Lena scooped Javi up in her arms. "We need to go," she said, not looking at Calder. "I'll tell my supervisor I couldn't. Finish tonight." "Lena, wait," Calder said, stepping forward. "Let me explain, please." "I trusted you," she said, her voice breaking. "I trusted you with my tired, not to play some CEO fantasy." Without waiting for his response, she carried Javi to the elevator, her vision blurred with tears. Behind her, Calder Rowe, billionaire CEO, train man, the first person who had made her feel safe in a year, stood alone in his empire of glass and steel, watching her walk away. Lena sat on the edge of her bed, watching Javi sleep. His fever had finally broken, but the events of the night had left her drained. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Calder's face, the shock when he'd spotted her cleaning his office, the hurt in his eyes when she'd walked away. Why didn't you just tell me? She whispered to the empty room. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was her 5th missed call from an unknown number, probably Calder. She ignored it again. The next morning, Janet called. "Girl, what happened last night?" "The supervisor is furious," Lena sighed, pouring a cup of coffee with her free hand. "Javi was too sick. I had to leave early." "That's not what I heard," Janet said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I heard you had some kind of showdown with the CEO himself." "Is that true?" So the gossip had already spread. "It's complicated, Janet." "Complicated how?" "Wait," Janet gasped. "Is he the train man? The one you've been sitting with?" Lena's silence was answer enough. "Oh my God," Janet breathed. "You've been sleeping on the shoulder of Calder Rowe. The Calder Rowe. Do you know what they call him in the business world? The Golden Eagle. Everything he touches turns to gold." "Well, he won't be touching me again," Lena said firmly. "He lied to me, Janet, for weeks." "What exactly did he lie about? He never told me who he really was. He let me think he was just some regular guy who worked in tech, not the billionaire owner of Richardson Technologies." Janet was quiet for a moment. "And if he had told you on day one that he was a billionaire CEO, what would you have done?" The question caught Lena off guard. I don't know, but that's not the point." "Maybe that is the point," Janet said gently. "Maybe he just wanted someone to see him, not his money." "That's exactly what he said," Lena admitted. "Well, maybe you should listen." After hanging up, Lena checked her phone again. 6 missed calls now and a text message. "Please let me explain. I never meant to hurt you." See, she deleted it without replying. When Tina came over that afternoon to check on Javi, Lena finally broke down and told her sister everything. "I feel so stupid," she said, wiping away angry tears. "I actually thought he liked me. Me, Lena Hart, single mom waitress. And why couldn't he?" Tina challenged. "You're smart, you're beautiful, you're the strongest person I know. I'm also broke, exhausted, and have more baggage than an airport carousel. So what? You think rich people don't have problems?" Tina shook her head. "Look, I'm not saying what he did was right. He should have been honest with you, but before you throw away whatever this is, ask yourself, when you were with him, how did he treat you?" Lena thought about it, about how Calder had never woken her when she fell asleep on his shoulder, how he'd carried her heavy bag without being asked, how he'd remembered exactly how she took her coffee, how he'd brought a dinosaur for a little boy he'd never even met. "He was kind," she admitted. "He treated me like I mattered." "Then maybe give him a chance to explain," Tina suggested. "What have you got to lose?" But Lena didn't call him back. Instead, she requested a different cleaning assignment, far away from Richardson Technologies. She started taking an earlier train to avoid seeing Calder. She buried herself in work, in caring for Javi, in pretending that the last few weeks had never happened, until one evening, when she picked up Javi from school. "Mom, look what I got," Javi exclaimed, holding up a shiny new dinosaur. This one was blue with yellow stripes, much fancier than the small one Calder had given him. "Where did you get that?" Lena asked, her heart suddenly racing. "From the train man," Javi said excitedly. "He came to our school fundraiser today. He bought lots of napkins and juice boxes, and he gave me this." Lena felt like the ground had shifted beneath her feet. "Calder was at your school today?" Javi nodded enthusiastically. "He said to tell you hello and that he misses talking to you on the train." "Did he say anything else?" Lena asked, trying to keep her voice casual. Javi scrunched up his face in concentration. "He asked if you were still mad at him. I said I didn't know. Are you still mad at him, Mommy?" Was she? Lena wasn't sure anymore. The anger had faded, leaving a dull ache in its place. She missed him, their quiet conversations on the train, the comfort of his shoulder, the way he looked at her like she was something precious. "I don't know either, buddy," she said honestly. When they got home, there was an envelope taped to their door. Inside was a train ticket and a handwritten note. "You can take my name off the news. You can take the job, take the toys, but please don't take your shoulder back. I've never felt more like a man than when you let me carry your sleep. If you want to talk, I'll be on our usual train tomorrow. If not, I understand." Calder Lena read the note 3 times, her fingers tracing over his handwriting. Part of her wanted to tear it up. Another part wanted to press it to her heart. Instead, she folded it carefully and put it in her purse. The next day was Saturday. Lena didn't have to work at the cafe, and she didn't have an evening cleaning job. She spent the morning playing with Javi, trying not to think about the train ticket burning a hole in her purse. "Are we going somewhere today?" Javi asked over lunch, his eyes bright with hope. They rarely went anywhere on weekends. Lena was usually too tired, and outings cost money they didn't have. "Would you like to?" Lena asked, an idea forming. "Yes." Javi bounced in his seat. "Can we go to the park with the big slide?" "We can do that," Lena agreed. "And maybe afterward. Maybe we could take a train ride." Javi's eyes grew even wider. "To see the train man?" "Maybe," Lena said. "Would you like that?" Javi nodded vigorously. "He's nice and he makes you smile." "Does he now?" Lena asked, surprised by her son's observation. "Uh-huh. Like Daddy used to before he got sad and went away." Lena's heart squeezed painfully. "Javi, you know that your daddy leaving had nothing to do with you, right? He couldn't handle being a father." "I know," Javi said with a child's simple acceptance. "But the train man doesn't look scared to be a daddy. He looks like he wants to be one." Out of the mouths of babes, Lena wondered if her 5-year-old son had seen something in Calder that she had missed. At precisely 5:15, Lena and Javi boarded the train. It wasn't as crowded as it usually was on weekdays. Lena's heart pounded as they moved through the cars, Javi skipping ahead excitedly. "There he is!" Javi shouted, pointing. "Train man!" Calder looked up, his expression changing from surprise to cautious hope when he saw them. He was dressed more casually than Lena had ever seen him, jeans and a simple button-down shirt instead of his usual suit. Without the trappings of wealth, he looked younger, more approachable. "You came," he said softly as they approached. "We came," Lena corrected, placing a hand on Javi's shoulder. "Javi wanted to thank you for the dinosaur." "I named him Blue," Javi announced, holding up the toy. "Because he's blue," Calder smiled, kneeling down to Javi's level. "That's a perfect name. Do you like dinosaurs a lot?" "They're my favorite," Javi said seriously. "Mommy took me to the museum once to see the big bones." "That sounds amazing," Calder said, glancing up at Lena. "Maybe we could all go together sometime." "Can we, Mommy?" Javi asked excitedly. "We'll see," Lena said, not ready to make any promises. "Javi, why don't you sit here by the window? You can watch the buildings go by." Once Javi was settled, his face pressed eagerly against the glass, Lena turned to Calder. "You went to his school?" "I hope that was okay," Calder said, looking uncertain for the first time since she'd met him. "I wanted to help with the fundraiser. The principal mentioned they were having trouble getting enough supplies." "So you bought napkins and juice boxes?" Lena said, remembering Javi's words. "Among other things," Calder admitted. "They needed a new playground. The old one wasn't safe anymore." Lena's eyes widened. "You didn't. It'll be installed next month," he said with a small shrug, as if buying an entire playground was no big deal. Which for him, it probably wasn't. "Why?" Lena asked, the question encompassing so much more than just the playground. Calder seemed to understand. "Because I care about what's important to you, and Javi is important to you." "You don't even know us," Lena said, but there was no heat in her words. "I know enough," Calder said simply. "I know. You work harder than anyone I've ever met. I know you'd do anything for your son. I know you're smart and funny and kind even when you're exhausted. And I know that the minutes you spent sleeping on my shoulder were the most real moments I've had in years." Lena didn't know what to say to that. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you who I was," Calder continued. "But I'm not sorry for how we met. If I had introduced myself as Calder Rowe, CEO of Richardson Technologies, would you have treated me the same way?" "Probably not," Lena admitted reluctantly. "That's all I wanted. For someone to see me, not my bank account or my company. And you did that, Lena. You saw me." The train swayed gently as it rounded a curve. Javi had discovered a map of the train. Arutz and was tracing the colored lines with his finger, completely absorbed. "You could have told me later," Lena said, "after we got to know each other." "You're right," Calder agreed. "I should have. I kept telling myself I would, but I was afraid of losing what we had. And then you found out in the worst possible way exactly what I'd been trying to avoid." "So what now?" Lena asked. "You're still you, rich, powerful, successful, and I'm still me, a single mom working 2 jobs to make ends meet. We're from different worlds, Calder." "Do you think I care about that?" he asked, his voice low and intense. "Do you think any of that matters to me?" "It should," Lena insisted. "People will talk. They'll say I'm after your money." "Let them talk," Calder said dismissively. "I don't care what anyone thinks except you and maybe him," he added, nodding toward Javi. "He likes you," Lena said. "He says you make me smile." Something soft and vulnerable flickered in Calder's eyes. "Do I?" "Sometimes," Lena admitted. "When you're not lying to me about being a billionaire." A small smile tugged at Calder's lips. "I promise, no more lies. Full disclosure. I am in fact disgustingly wealthy. I own a tech company that creates sustainable energy solutions. I have 3 houses, but only live in one. I donate most of my money to education and environmental causes. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the day you fell asleep on my shoulder." Despite herself, Lena felt a smile forming. "Anything else I should know?" "Just one thing," Calder said, his expression turning serious. "I'm falling in love with you, Lena Hart, and I don't care if you're a waitress or a cleaning lady or the Queen of England. I just want a chance to show you that what we have is real." Lena's breath caught in her throat. No one had ever looked at her the way Calder was looking at her now, like she was the most precious thing in the world. "Mommy?" Javi interrupted, tugging at her sleeve. "I'm hungry." The spell broken, Lena fumbled in her bag for a granola bar. "Here you go, buddy." "I'm hungry too," Calder said with a straight face. "Got another one of those?" Javi giggled. "You're silly, train man." "Tell you what," Calder said, checking his watch. "There's a great pizza place at the next stop. How about we get off and grab some dinner? My treat." "Pizza!" Javi exclaimed, bouncing in his seat. "Can we, Mommy? Please?" Lena hesitated. She still had so many questions, so many doubts. But looking at Calder's hopeful face and Javi's excited one, she couldn't find it in her heart to say no. "It's okay," she agreed, "but just pizza, and I'm paying for myself." "Deal," Calder said, though she could tell he wanted to argue. "Thank you for giving me another chance." As the train slowed for the next station, Javi scrambled to his feet. "Come on, train man. You can hold my hand when we cross the street. Mommy says it's safer that way." Without waiting for a response, Javi grabbed Calder's much larger hand in his small one. The look of wonder that crossed Calder's face made Lena's heart ache. "Is this okay?" Calder asked, holding up their joined hands. "It's fine," Lena said, swallowing past the lump in her throat. "He doesn't usually warm up to strangers so quickly." "I'm not a stranger," Calder reminded her with a smile. "I'm the train man." The pizza place was small and crowded, not the kind of establishment Lena would have expected a billionaire to frequent. But Calder seemed perfectly at ease, joking with the owner who greeted him by name. "You come here often?" Lena asked as they slid into a booth. "Best pizza in the city," Calder said. "I discovered it by accident one day when I was avoiding my board of directors." "You hide from your board?" Lena asked, surprised. "Only when they want me to do things I don't agree with," Calder said, helping Javi with his napkin. "Like cutting corners on our environmental initiatives to save money." "And what do you do instead?" "I eat pizza and come up with better solutions," Calder said with a grin. "It hasn't failed me yet." Watching him with Javi, Lena felt something shift inside her. Calder was patient, attentive, never talking down to the boy. He listened seriously to Javi's chatter about dinosaurs and school, asking questions that showed he was really paying attention. By the time they finished their meal, Javi was half asleep, his head nodding as he leaned against Lena's side. "I should get him home," Lena said, gathering their things. "Let me call my driver," Calder offered. "It'll be faster than the train." Lena almost refused automatically, but then looked at Javi's tired face. "Okay, thank you." 10 minutes later, they were settled in the back of a sleek black car with tinted windows. Javi, initially excited about the fancy car, quickly fell asleep with his head in Lena's lap. "Thank you for tonight," Calder said quietly. "I had a good time." "So did we," Lena admitted. "Especially Javi. You're good with him." "He's a great kid," Calder said, looking down at the sleeping boy with genuine affection. "You've done an amazing job with him, Lena. You should be proud." "I am," she said. "He's the best thing I've ever done." They fell into comfortable silence as the car moved through the nighttime streets. Lena found herself studying Calder's profile in the dim light, the strong line of his jaw, the slight furrow between his brows as he gazed out the window, lost in thought. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Calder turned to her, his expression open and vulnerable. "I was thinking about how much I've missed you these past few days, how empty the train felt without you." "I missed you too," Lena admitted softly, "even though I was still mad at you." "Are you still mad now?" Lena considered the question. "Not mad exactly, just cautious. This is all so new to me, Calder. And it's not just me I have to think about. It's Javi too. He's already lost one man in his life. I can't let him get attached to someone else who might disappear." "I'm not going anywhere," Calder said firmly. "Unless you want me to." The car pulled up in front of Lena's apartment building. It was a stark contrast to the sleek vehicle, an old brick building in a neighborhood that had seen better days. Lena felt a flash of embarrassment, then pushed it aside. This was her home. She worked hard to afford it. "Would you like to come up for coffee?" she offered impulsively. Calder's eyes widened in surprise. "Are you sure?" "It's just coffee," Lena said, quickly, "and probably not as good as what you're used to. But yes, I'm sure." Calder's smile was worth any doubts she might have had. "I'd love to." As Calder carefully lifted the still sleeping Javi from her lap, cradling him gently against his chest, Lena felt something warm unfurl in her heart. Something that felt dangerously like hope. Maybe, just maybe, this crazy thing between them, the tired waitress and the billionaire CEO, had a chance after all. Lena's apartment was small but tidy. A worn couch with colorful throw pillows faced a small TV. Javi's toys were neatly organized in plastic bins along one wall. Framed drawings, clearly Javi's artwork, hung on the walls instead of expensive paintings. Calder looked around with interest as Lena led him inside. She felt suddenly self-conscious about the faded carpet, the mismatched furniture, the kitchen cabinets with peeling paint. "Let me put Javi to bed," she said, taking her sleeping son from Calder's arms. "Make yourself comfortable." When she returned, from Javi's tiny bedroom, she found Calder examining the refrigerator door, which was covered with Javi's drawings, school notices, and a calendar packed with work shifts. "You really do work 7 days a week," he said quietly. Lena shrugged. "Bills don't pay themselves." She moved to the kitchen counter and started making coffee. "It's nothing fancy, just regular drip coffee." "That's perfect," Calder said, leaning against the counter. Up close in the small kitchen, he seemed even taller, his presence filling the modest space. "Thank you for inviting me in." "Thank you for bringing us home," Lena replied, measuring coffee grounds into the filter. "And for dinner. Javi loved it." "And what about his mom?" Calder asked. "Did she have a good time too?" Lena glanced up at him. "Yes," she admitted. "I did." Something shifted in the air between them, a tension that hadn't been there before. Lena was suddenly very aware of how close they were standing, of the warmth in Calder's eyes as he looked at her. The coffee maker gurgled, breaking the moment. Lena busied herself getting mugs from the cabinet. "So, this is where you and Javi live," Calder said, his tone casual as he accepted the steaming mug she offered. It's not much, Lena said defensively, but it's home. It's nice, Calder said, and he seemed to mean it. It feels lived in, like a real home, as opposed to my place, Calder admitted with a rueful smile. It's beautiful, perfect, and completely soulless. The decorator called it minimalist modern. I call it empty. Lena led him to the couch, where they sat at opposite ends, both cradling their coffee mugs. So, Mr. CEO, she said, trying to keep her tone light, tell me about your company. What exactly does Richardson Technologies do? We develop sustainable energy solutions, Calder explained. Solar, wind, battery storage, the boring stuff that might just save the planet. That doesn't sound boring at all, Lena said. It sounds important. It is, Calder agreed. At least I think so. My board of directors sometimes needs convincing that doing the right thing is more important than maximizing short-term profits. Is that why you were working so late the night I found out who you were? Fighting with your board? Calder nodded. We're launching a new solar program for low-income communities. The board wants to scale it back to save money. I refuse. And who's winning? I am, Calder said with a confident smile. It's still my company. I have controlling interest. The Golden Eagle, Lena murmured. Calder's eyebrows shot up. Where did you hear that? Janet, one of the other cleaning staff. She said that's what they call you in the business world, because everything you touch turns to gold. A strange expression crossed Calder's face. Not everything, he said quietly. What? Do you mean? Calder stared into his coffee for a long moment. Business success came easily to me. Personal happiness, not so much. I find that hard to believe, Lena said. You have everything. Money, success, good looks. She blushed slightly at the last part. I have things, Calder corrected her. Not connections. Not real ones, anyway. Do you know how many people want to be friends with a billionaire? Lots. Do you know how many want to be friends with just Calder? Very few. He set his mug down on the coffee table. That first day on the train, when you fell asleep on my shoulder, it was the first time in years someone had touched me without wanting something from me. You weren't trying to impress me or get something from me, you were just tired. Very tired, Lena agreed with a small smile. It was the most honest interaction I'd had in longer than I can remember, Calder continued. And every day after that, sitting with you, talking about nothing important, it became the best part of my day. Mine too, Lena admitted softly. They fell silent, the confession hanging in the air between them. Lena's heart was racing. She couldn't remember the last time she'd felt this way, nervous and excited all at once. Can I ask you something? Calder said finally, Sure. Javi's father. What happened? Lena sighed. It wasn't a story she liked to tell, but Calder deserved to know. His name is Marco. We met when I was waitressing at a different restaurant. He was charming, handsome, always the life of the party. We moved in together after 3 months. I got pregnant 6 months after that. She paused, taking a sip of her coffee. At first he seemed excited about the baby. He painted the nursery, bought a tiny baseball glove, but after Javi was born, he changed, started staying out late, coming home drunk, said he felt trapped. What a jerk, Calder muttered. He stuck it out until Javi was 4, Lena continued. Then one day I came home from work and found a note. He said he wasn't cut out for family life, that he needed his freedom. He emptied our joint account, not that there was much in it, and took off. No warning, no real goodbye to Javi, just gone. Has he been in touch at all? Lena shook her head. Not a word. No child support, no birthday cards, nothing. Javi still asks about him all the time. It breaks my heart. I'm sorry, Calder said, his voice gentle. Javi deserves better. You both do. We're managing, Lena said, lifting her chin. I don't need a man to take care of us. I know you don't, Calder said quickly. You're the strongest person I've ever met, Lena, but everyone needs someone to lean on sometimes, even if it's just a shoulder on a train. Lena smiled at that. I did enjoy your shoulder. It's still available, Calder offered with a grin. Any time. You need it. Their eyes met, and something electric passed between them. Lena found herself leaning toward him almost without realizing it. Calder did the same, his gaze dropping to her lips. The moment was shattered by a small voice from the hallway. "Mommy, I'm thirsty." Lena pulled back quickly, her face flushing. "Coming, honey," she called, standing up. She gave Calder an apologetic look. "Mum, duty calls." "Of course," Calder said, though she could see the disappointment in his eyes. "It's getting late anyway, I should probably go." "You don't have to," Lena said impulsively. "I mean, I just need to get him some water and tuck him back in. It'll only take a minute." Calder's face brightened. "I'll be right here." When Lena returned from Javi's room, she found Calder looking at the framed photos on her bookshelf, mostly pictures of Javi at various ages, a few of Lena with her sister Tina. "He looks just like you," Calder commented. "Same eyes, same smile." "Everyone says that," Lena agreed, coming to stand beside him. "But he has his father's curly hair," he asked. "If I was going to be here in the morning," Lena said after a moment. "When he wakes up," Calder turned to face her. "What did you tell him?" "I said no, that you had to go home, but that maybe we'd see you again soon." She took a deep breath. "Was that okay? To tell him we'd see you again?" "More than okay," Calder said softly. "I'd like that very much." This time when he leaned toward her, Lena didn't pull away. His lips met hers in a gentle kiss that still managed to send warmth coursing through her entire body. His hand came up to cup her cheek, his touch so tender it made her heart ache. When they finally broke apart, Lena's knees felt weak. It had been so long since anyone had kissed her like that, like she was precious, like the moment was precious. "I should go," Calder whispered, his forehead resting against hers. "Before I don't want to." "Okay," Lena agreed, though part of her wanted to ask him to stay. At the door, he turned back to her. "Can I see you tomorrow? Both of you?" "We don't have any special plans," Lena said. "Just Sunday chores." "Perfect," Calder said with a smile. "I'm excellent at chores." Lena raised an eyebrow skeptically. "Really? The billionaire CEO knows how to do laundry?" "I wasn't born rich, Lena," Calder reminded her. "I grew up in a house not much bigger than this apartment. My mom worked too. Jobs too." "I'm sorry," Lena said, feeling ashamed. "I shouldn't have assumed." "It's okay," Calder assured her. "But yes, I know how to do laundry and cook and fix leaky faucets, though I admit it's been a while since I've had to do any of those things." "Well, my faucet does drip," Lena said, with a small smile. "If you're looking for a challenge, I'll bring my tools," Calder promised. He leaned in and kissed her once more, quickly but with feeling. "Good night, Lena." "Good night, Calder." So after he left, Lena leaned against the closed door, her fingers touching her lips where she could still feel his kiss. What was she doing? Getting involved with a man like Calder Rowe? It was crazy. They were from different worlds. It could never work. Yet her heart didn't seem to care about any of that. It was already racing ahead, already hoping, already falling. True to his word, Calder arrived the next morning with a toolbox and a bag of fresh pastries from a bakery. Javi was thrilled to see the train man at their door, especially when Calder presented him with a chocolate croissant. "And we fixed the sink together?" Javi asked excitedly. "Absolutely," Calder agreed, as if nothing could please him more than spending Sunday morning under a sink with a 5-year-old assistant. Lena watched from the kitchen doorway as Calder patiently showed Javi how to use a wrench, letting the boy tighten the final bolt that stopped the drip. The smile on Javi's face when the faucet no longer leaked was radiant. "We did it," he exclaimed, high-fiving Calder. "We sure did, buddy," Calder agreed, ruffling Javi's hair. "You're a natural." The rest of the day passed in a blur of small domestic tasks that somehow felt special with Calder there. He helped with laundry, insisting on carrying the heavy basket up from the building's basement. He fixed a wobbly chair leg. He even helped Javi clean his room, making a game out of putting toys away. Later, when Javi was napping, Calder and Lena sat at her small kitchen table drinking tea. "Thank you for today," Lena said. Javi had a blast. "So did I," Calder said, sincerely. "It's been a nice change from boardrooms and spreadsheets." "I still can't believe you spent your Sunday doing chores in our tiny apartment," Lena said, shaking her head. Don't you have a mansion to go back to? A yacht to sail? Whatever it is billionaires do on weekends, Calder laughed. The mansion? Yes, the yacht, no, too flashy. And I'd much rather be here with you and Javi than rattling around in that big empty house by myself. What about your family? Lena asked. You mentioned your mum worked 2 jobs. She died when I was in college, Calder said, his expression somber. Cancer. My dad left when I was too young to remember him. No siblings. I'm sorry, Lena said, reaching across the table to take his hand. That must be lonely. It was, Calder admitted. It is. Building the company gave me something to focus on, a purpose. But at the end of the day, success doesn't keep you warm. At night. The words hung in the air between them, full of unspoken meaning. What about your family? Calder asked, changing the subject. Besides Tina, I mean. Just Tina, Lena said. Our parents died in a car accident when I was 20. Tina was only 17. I became her guardian. It was hard, but we got through it together. You've been taking care of people your whole life, Calder observed. I guess I have, Lena agreed. Never really thought about it that way. Have you ever let anyone take care of you? The question caught her off guard. Not really, she admitted. Not since my parents died. Even with Marco, I was always the responsible one. The one who made sure the bills were paid, that we had food in the fridge. That's a heavy burden to carry alone, Calder said quietly. I'm used to it. You shouldn't have to be. He squeezed her hand gently. Everyone deserves someone who puts them first, Lena. Even you, especially you. Before she could respond, Javi came padding into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes sleepily. Is it dinosaur time yet? He asked. Calder looked confused. Dinosaur time? Sunday afternoon is dinosaur documentary time, Lena explained with a smile. It's our tradition. Can Calder watch with us? Javi asked, climbing into Lena's lap. She looked at Calder questioningly. If he wants to. Are you kidding? Calder said, his face lighting up. Dinosaurs are awesome. I'd love to watch with you guys. And so they ended up on Lena's small couch, watching a documentary about prehistoric creatures. Javi sat between them, leaning against Calder's side as he pointed out his favorite dinosaurs. By the time the credits rolled, Javi's eyes were drooping again. I think someone needs another nap, Lena said, stroking her son's hair. Not sleepy, Javi protested, even as he yawned widely. How about a story first? Calder suggested. I'm pretty so good at bedtime stories. Yes, Javi agreed, suddenly more awake. Please, Mommy. Okay, Lena agreed. One story, then rest time. She led them to Javi's room, where the little boy climbed into his bed decorated with dinosaur sheets. Calder sat on the edge of the bed while Lena stood in the doorway, watching as he began to weave a tale about a brave little dinosaur who protected his family from bigger, meaner dinosaurs. The story was simple but engaging, and Calder did different. Voices for each character. Javi listened with rapt attention, his eyes growing heavier as the story progressed. By the time the brave little dinosaur saved the day, Javi was fast asleep. Calder gently tucked the blanket around him and tiptoed out of the room, following Lena back to the living room. That was impressive, she said. He usually asks for at least 3 stories before he'll sleep. I had a lot of practice, Calder said. Not with kids, he added quickly, seeing her surprised expression. With my mom. When she was sick, I'd tell her stories to distract her from the pain. That's beautiful, Lena said softly. She must have loved that. She did, Calder agreed, a distant look in his eyes. She always said I should have been a writer instead of a businessman, but I wanted to build something that would help people. That's where the renewable energy focus came from. She was always cold during her treatments, always worried about the heating bills. Lena felt her heart expand with tenderness. This man, who had every material thing anyone could want, had built an empire out of love for his mother. Not greed, not ambition, love. Your mum would be proud of you, she said, touching his cheek gently. Calder leaned into her touch. I hope. So, this time when he kissed her, there was more urgency, more heat. His arms slipped around her waist, pulling her close against him. Lena's hands moved to his shoulders, feeling the strength beneath his casual shirt. It had been so long since she'd been held like this, kissed like this. So long since she'd wanted anyone the way she wanted Calder right now. It was Calder who pulled back first, his breathing uneven. "We should slow down," he said, though his eyes said something very different. "Why?" Lena asked, her fingers still curved around his neck. "Because I don't want to rush this," Calder said seriously. "Because it matters too much. You matter too much." The words melted something inside her. How did he always know exactly what to say? "I'm scared," she admitted in a whisper. "This is happening so fast." "I know," Calder agreed. "It scares me too. But some things are worth being scared for." They moved back to the couch, sitting closer this time, his arm around her shoulders, her head resting against him. Not unlike their position on the train, but so much more intimate now. "Tell me something I don't know about you," Lena said. Looking up at him, Calder thought for a moment. "I can't swim," he admitted. "Really? The great Calder Rowe has a weakness?" "Several," he said with a self-deprecating smile. "I also can't dance. I'm terrified of spiders, and I once threw up on my fourth-grade teacher during a class presentation." Lena laughed. "Now that I would have paid to see." "Your turn," Calder said. "Tell me something I don't know about you." "I wanted to be an artist," Lena said. "Before my parents died, I was in art school. I used to paint all the time." "What happened?" Lena shrugged. "Life. After the accident, I had to get a real job to support Tina. Art seemed like a luxury we couldn't afford." "Do you still paint?" "Not really," Lena said. "Sometimes I sketch when Javi is coloring, but there's never enough time or energy left at the end of the day." "What would you do if you had more time?" Calder asked. "If you didn't have to work 2 jobs? The question was hypothetical, but it stirred something in Lena, a long-buried dream. "I'd go back to school," she said. "Finish my degree. Maybe teach art to kids." "You'd be wonderful at that," Calder said warmly. "Maybe someday," Lena said, with a small sigh. "When Javi's older." "Why wait?" Calder asked. "Life is short, Lena. My mom taught me that. If there's something you want to do, you should do it now." "Easy for you to say," Lena pointed out. "You don't have to worry about paying rent or buying groceries." As soon as the words left her mouth, she regretted them. "I'm sorry," she said, quickly. "That was unfair." "No, you're right," Calder acknowledged. "I don't have those worries, but that doesn't mean I can't understand yours." He took her hand, his expression serious. "Lena, I want to be clear about something. I care about you a lot, more than I've cared about anyone in a very long time. And that means I care about your happiness, your dreams, your future. If there's ever anything I can do to help you achieve those dreams, I hope you'll let me. I'm not looking for a handout." "Calder," Lena said stiffly. "I know that," he said, "and I would never insult you by offering one, but there's a difference between a handout and a hand up, between charity and support, between using someone and letting someone who cares about you help when they can." His words struck a chord in Lena. Hadn't she said almost the same thing to Tina when her sister had offered to help with Javi? "I'm not very good at accepting help," she admitted. "I've noticed," Calder said with a gentle smile. "But maybe that's something we can work on. Together." "Together," Lena repeated, testing the word. "I like the sound of that." "So do I," Calder agreed, pulling her closer. "So do I." As the afternoon light slanted through the windows, casting golden shadows across the small apartment, Lena allowed herself to hope, to imagine a future where she didn't have to carry everything alone, where there was room for dreams alongside responsibilities, where there was a strong shoulder to lean on when she was tired, a future with Calder. But in the back of her mind, a small voice whispered caution. Things that seemed too good to be true usually were, and a billionaire falling for a waitress? That was definitely too good to be true, wasn't it? The next few weeks passed in a blur of happiness for Lena. Calder had become a fixture in their lives, showing up with takeout dinners on her late nights, reading bedtime stories to Javi, fixing things around the apartment that had been broken for months. Every evening, they still rode the train together. Sometimes Lena would rest her head on his shoulder out of habit, but more often they simply talked, their hands linked together on the seat between them. On weekends, Calder took them on small adventures, the zoo, The Natural History Museum with its dinosaur exhibit, Javi's favorite, picnics in the park. Nothing flashy or expensive, nothing that made Lena feel like he was showing off his wealth. At work, Janet teased her relentlessly. "So when is the billionaire boyfriend going to sweep you off to his mansion?" she would ask while they cleaned. "Office bathrooms. It's not like that," Lena would insist. "We're taking things slow." But the truth was, things were moving quickly, at least emotionally. Lena found herself thinking about Calder constantly, missing him when he wasn't there, looking forward to his texts and calls, dreaming about him at night, and Javi was even worse. "When is Calder coming over?" had replaced "When is Daddy coming back?" as his daily question. It scared her sometimes, how easily Calder had slipped into their lives, how much they both depended on his presence now. What would happen if it didn't work out? If he got bored with playing house in her tiny apartment? If he decided he wanted someone more glamorous, more suited to his world? One evening, as they walked hand in hand from the train station, Calder seemed unusually quiet. "Everything okay?" Lena asked. "Just work stuff," he said with a sigh. "The board is giving me trouble again about the solar program." "What's their problem with it?" "It's expensive to implement," Calder explained, "and the return on investment isn't immediate. They want to focus on more profitable ventures." "But you said it would help low-income communities save on energy costs," Lena remembered. "That seems important." "It is important," Calder agreed, squeezing her hand. "That's why I'm fighting for it. But it's exhausting sometimes, having the same argument over and over. Is there anything I can do to help?" Calder stopped walking and turned to face her, his expression soft. "You already do," he said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Having you and Javi to come home to, it makes all the battles worth fighting." Home. The word sent a flutter through Lena's chest. Was that what they were becoming to him? A home. "Speaking of home," Calder continued, "I've been thinking, would you and Javi like to come see my place this weekend? I know it's not as warm or inviting as your apartment, but we'd love to," Lena interrupted, surprising herself with how much she meant it. She was curious about where Calder lived, what his private space looked like. "Great," Calder said, clearly relieved. "I'll make dinner, nothing fancy, I promise." "You cook?" Lena asked, raising an eyebrow. "I'm full of surprises," Calder said with a wink. When Saturday arrived, Lena felt unexpectedly nervous as she and Javi rode in Calder's car to his home. What would it be like? Would she feel out of place? Would Javi break something expensive? She needn't have worried about Javi. The moment they pulled up to the modern glass and steel house nestled among trees, his eyes went wide with excitement. "You live in a spaceship!" he exclaimed, making both adults laugh. "It does look a bit like a spaceship, doesn't it?" Calder agreed, helping him out of the car. "Want to see inside?" Javi nodded eagerly, already racing toward the front door. Tisa. Interior of Calder's home was exactly as Lena had imagined, sleek, modern, minimalist. Everything was either white, black, or glass. Beautiful, but as Calder had said, somewhat soulless. The decorator called it clean lines and open space, Calder explained as he showed them around. "I call it empty." Javi was less impressed with the inside than the outside. "Where are all your toys?" he asked, looking around the pristine living room. "I don't have many toys," Calder admitted, "but I did get something special for when you visit." He led them to a room off the main living area that had been set up with child-sized furniture, a bookshelf full of children's books, and a large toy box. "This is all for me?" Javi asked in amazement. "Whenever you visit," Calder confirmed. "And there's something else outside I think you'll like." Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Lena could see what looked like a brand-new swing set in the backyard. She shot Calder a look. They'd talked about this. He'd promised not to spoil Javi with expensive gifts. "It's not just for Javi," Calder said quickly, reading her expression. "It's for all the neighborhood kids. I noticed there's no playground nearby." "There are other kids in this neighborhood?" Lena asked skeptically, looking around at what was clearly an exclusive area. "Not many," Calder admitted, "but the housekeeper's grandchildren come sometimes, and I thought, Well, maybe someday. He trailed off, but Lena understood what he wasn't saying. Someday, maybe there would be more children here. Their children. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. While Javi explored his new play space, Calder gave Lena a tour of the rest of the house. It was beautiful, no doubt, with breathtaking views from every window, but it felt like a showplace. Not a home, until they reached one room that was completely different from the rest. "This is my study," Calder said, opening the door to a warm, wood-paneled room filled with books and comfortable furniture. The one room the decorator wasn't allowed to touch. This space felt lived in, personal. Photos crowded the desk. Calder with an older woman who must be his mother. Calder at college graduation. Calder breaking ground on what appeared to be his company's first building. And there, in a silver frame right in the center, a picture of Lena and Javi at the Natural History Museum, standing in front of a T-Rex skeleton, both laughing. "When did you take this?" Lena asked, picking up the frame. "A few weeks ago on our museum trip," Calder said, looking slightly embarrassed. "You were both so happy I couldn't resist." "You keep our picture on your desk," Lena said softly, touched. "Beyond words. It reminds me what I'm working for," Calder said simply. "What really matters." Lena set the frame back down, her heart full. She was falling in love with this man. No, she had already fallen. The realization wasn't shocking or surprising. It felt inevitable, like the tide coming in. "I want to show you one more thing," Calder said, leading her down a hallway to another room. He opened the door to reveal what could only be described as an artist's dream. Easels, canvases, paints, brushes, every supply imaginable arranged neatly in a room flooded with natural light from a skylight above. "What is this?" Lena asked. Though she already knew. "It's for you," Calder said quietly. "If you want it, a place to paint again." Lena walked into the room, running her fingers over the pristine brushes, the unopened tubes of paint. "Calder," she whispered, "this is too much." "It's not enough," he said, coming to stand behind her. "Not nearly enough for what you've given me." "And what's that?" she asked, turning to face him. "A reason," he said simply. "A reason to come home at night. A reason to fight for what matters. A reason to be more than just the golden eagle." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "I haven't painted in years," she said. "I might be terrible now." "Then be terrible," Calder said with a smile. "Be messy. Be free. Just be you, Lena. That's all I want." She kissed him then, pouring all her feelings into it. Gratitude, hope, and yes, love. So much love it frightened her. "Thank you," she said when they finally broke apart. "For everything." "Does this mean you'll use it?" Calder asked hopefully. "I'd like to try," Lena admitted, "but I don't know when. Between both jobs and Javi." "About that," Calder said hesitantly, "I have a proposition for you." "A business proposition," he added quickly. "What kind of proposition?" Lena asked, suddenly wary. "Richardson Technologies is starting a new community arts program as part of our outreach. We need someone to coordinate it, develop programming, work with local schools." He took a deep breath. "I thought of you immediately." "Me?" Lena was stunned. "But I don't have a degree. I don't have any experience in program development." "You have passion, creativity, and a natural ability to connect with people, especially children," Calder countered. "The rest can be learned." "Is this a real job, or are you creating a position for me?" Lena asked suspiciously. "It's a real job," Calder assured her. "One that the board approved last month before we even met. You can check the meeting minutes if you don't believe me." "But wouldn't it be a conflict of interest? Us dating while I work for your company?" "You wouldn't be reporting to me," Calder explained. "You'd be part of the community outreach department, and everything would be completely above board. Standard hiring process, competitive salary-based. On market rates, nothing special. Except that I'd be dating the CEO," Lena pointed out. "There is that," Calder acknowledged with a smile. "But I promise, no favoritism. In fact, you'd probably have to work twice as hard to prove yourself." Lena considered it. The opportunity was tempting. A chance to use her art background, to work with kids, to have just one job with normal hours. More time with Javi. More time to paint. It would mean no more cleaning job, she said slowly. No more falling asleep on your shoulder on the train. I'm willing to make that sacrifice, Calder said with mock seriousness. Though I'll miss those moments. I'll think about it, Lena promised, but no promises. That's all I ask, Calder said. And Lena, whatever you decide, it doesn't change anything between us. I hope you know that. Before she could respond, they heard Javi calling for them. Mummy, Calder, come see what I found. They found him in the backyard, excitedly pointing at a rabbit nibbling grass near the swing set. Look, a real bunny, he whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. As they stood there, watching Javi's delight, Calder's arm around her shoulders, Lena felt a sense of rightness settle over her. This moment, these people, this was what mattered, the rest was just details. You've been seeing him for 2 months now, Tina said as they sat in her apartment the following week. When are you going to admit that you're in love with him? I don't know what you're talking about, Lena denied, though she couldn't quite meet her sister's eyes. Please, Tina scoffed. Your face lights up every time your phone buzzes. You talk about him constantly, and Javi is already calling him, Calder. Face it, sis, you're head over heels. It's complicated, Lena sighed. Only because you're making it complicated, Tina countered. The man is crazy about you. He adores Javi. He's kind, successful, and not hard to look at. What's the problem? The problem is that we're from different worlds, Lena said. His life is board meetings and charity galas. Mine is spilled coffee and dinosaur chicken nuggets. And yet he chooses to spend every free moment with you and those dinosaur nuggets, Tina pointed out. Doesn't that tell you something? What if it doesn't last? Lena asked, voicing her deepest fear. What if he gets tired of playing normal? What if Javi gets even more attached and then Calder leaves? What if he doesn't? Tina challenged. What if this is real? What if you're pushing away the best thing that's ever happened to you because you're scared? I'm not pushing him away, Lena protested. Aren't you? You won't consider the job he offered. You won't let him help with anything. You still won't even let him pick up the check half the time. I don't want to be dependent on him, Lena said. There's a difference between dependence and partnership, Tina said gently. When Jack and I got together, I was terrified of losing my independence. But I've learned that a real partnership makes you stronger, not weaker. It gives you freedom, not takes it away. Lena considered her sister's words. Was she sabotaging her relationship with Calder out of fear? Was she so used to doing everything alone that she couldn't recognize a genuine offer of partnership when it was right in front of her? He wants me to meet his board of directors, she said after a moment. There's some big charity gala next weekend. He says it's time they met. The woman who's changed his life. And you're freaking out, Tina guessed. Completely, Lena admitted. What do I wear? What do I say? They're going to take one look at me and think he's lost his mind. Or they'll take one look at you and understand exactly why he's fallen in love with you, Tina countered. Because you're amazing, Lena. And it's about time you realized it. The night of the gala arrived too quickly. Lena stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom, hardly recognizing herself. Tina had helped her find a simple but elegant black dress at a consignment shop. It wasn't designer, but it fit her perfectly, highlighting her slender figure. You look beautiful, Mummy, Javi said from the doorway, already in his pajamas. He was staying with Tina tonight. Thank you, sweetie, Lena said, kneeling down to hug him. You be good for Aunt Tina, okay? I will, he promised. Will you tell Calder I said hi? Of course, Lena assured him. When Calder arrived to pick her up, his reaction was everything she could have hoped for. He stood in her doorway, staring at her with an expression of pure awe. You are breathtaking, he said simply. Lena blushed. It's just a dress. It's not the dress, Calder said, taking her hand and twirling her slowly. It's you. Always you. In the car on the way to the gala, Lena's nerves returned. What if they don't like me? She asked. Then they're idiots, Calder said firmly. But they will. They'll see what I see, a smart, strong, incredible woman who makes me happier than I've ever been. He reached across the seat and took her hand. Lena, I need to tell you something. What? She asked, suddenly anxious. I love you, he said simply. I've been wanting to say it for weeks, but I was afraid of scaring you off. But I can't go another day without telling you. I love you and I love Javi and I want to build a life with both of you. Lena's heart soared. I love you too, she admitted, the words coming easily now that they were finally spoken. So much it terrifies me. Why does it terrify you? Calder asked gently. Because I've never needed anyone like I need you, Lena said honestly. Because I'm afraid of losing you. Because I'm afraid of what happens if this doesn't work out. It will work out, Calder said with quiet confidence. Because we both want it to. Because we'll both fight for it. Because some things are just meant to be. Like falling asleep on a stranger's shoulder on a train, Lena asked with a small smile. Exactly like that, Calder agreed, lifting her hand to his lips. The best mistake you ever made. At the gala, Lena was surprised to find that her fears were unfounded. Calder's board members were polite, even welcoming. Several of their wives sought her out, complimenting her dress and asking genuine questions about her background. You've made quite an impression on our CEO, one older woman told her. I haven't seen him this happy in all the years I've known him. He makes me happy too, Lena said honestly. As the evening wore on, Lena began to relax. This world, Calder's world, wasn't as intimidating as she'd feared. Yes, there was wealth and privilege here, but there were also real people with real relationships and real concerns. And throughout it all, Calder stayed by her side, his hand at the small of her back, his eyes finding hers across the room whenever they were momentarily separated, always checking in, always making sure she was comfortable. It was nearly midnight when they finally left, Lena's feet aching from unaccustomed heels. You were amazing tonight, Calder said as they drove back to her apartment. Everyone loved you. It wasn't as scary as I thought it would be, Lena admitted. Your friends are nice. Business associates, Calder corrected her. My friends are few, but I'd like to think they include you, Harvey, and Tina now. More than friends, I hope, Lena said softly. Calder glanced at her, his eyes warm in the dim light of the car. Much more. When they reached her building, Calder walked her to her door as he always did. But tonight felt different. Tonight the air between them was charged with possibility. Would you like to come in? Lena asked, her voice slightly breathless. More than anything, Calder said. But not tonight. Lena blinked in surprise. Why? Not? Because when I do stay, I want it to be with no doubts, no fears, no hesitations, Calder explained, cupping her face in his hands. I want you to be completely sure, Lena. About me. About us. I am sure, Lena insisted. I love you, Calder. And I love you, he said, kissing her tenderly. Enough to wait until the timing is perfect. As he turned to go, Lena caught his hand. What about tomorrow night? She asked. Harvey is sleeping over at a friend's house. We could have dinner at your place. I could stay over. Calder's eyes darkened. I'd like that very much. It's a date, Lena said, suddenly feeling shy. The first of many, Calder promised, kissing her once more before reluctantly pulling away. Sweet dreams, Lena Hart. Sweet dreams, Calder Rowe. 1 month later, Lena stood in the art studio at Calder's house, at their house as he insisted on calling it, though she and Harvey hadn't officially moved in yet. Her first canvas in years stood on the easel before her, a riot of colors depicting a train station at sunset, and in the foreground a man and woman sitting side by side, her head on his shoulder. It's beautiful, Calder said from the doorway, startling her. Just like the artist. Lena smiled, setting down her brush. Thank you for this, for everything. You don't have to keep thanking me, Calder said, coming to stand behind her, his arms circling her waist. Your happiness is all the thanks I need. I am happy, Lena said, leaning back against his chest. Happier than I ever thought possible. In the week since the gala, everything had fallen into place. Lena had accepted the position with Richardson Technologies' Community Arts program. She'd given notice at both her other jobs, worked her final shifts and said tearful goodbyes to Janet and her cafe co-workers. She and Harvey still kept the apartment. Calder had understood her need for independence, her reluctance to rush into living together. But they spent most nights at his house now, gradually bringing more of their things, making the sterile space into a home. Harvey had started kindergarten at a school near Calder's house, their house. He was thriving, making friends, no longer asking about the father who had abandoned him. Instead, he had Calder, who never missed a school event, who built blanket forts in the living room, who treated every dinosaur fact as a fascinating new Discovery. Penny for your thoughts, Calder murmured, pressing a kiss to her neck. I was just thinking about how much has changed, Lena said. A few months ago, I was so tired I couldn't keep my eyes open on the train. Now I'm painting again, working at a job I love, watching my son blossom. Falling asleep on my shoulder was the best thing that ever happened to me, Calder said, turning her in his arms to face him. To us? I never thought I'd be grateful for being exhausted, Lena laughed. Speaking of the train, Calder said, a mysterious smile playing on his lips, I thought we might take a trip this weekend, just the two of us. Tina already agreed to watch Harvey. A trip, Lena repeated. Where to? It's a surprise, Calder said. Pack for overnight. Casual clothes. Lena raised an eyebrow. You're being very mysterious, Mr. Rowe. You'll just have to trust me, Ms. Hart, Calder replied, kissing the tip of her nose. That Saturday they boarded a train, not their usual commuter train, but a scenic railway that wound through the countryside. Calder had reserved a private car, complete with comfortable seats and panoramic windows. This is amazing, Lena said, watching the landscape roll by. Where are we going? You'll see, Calder said, the same mysterious smile on his face. Hours later, the train pulled into a small station in what appeared to be the middle of nowhere, a picturesque village nestled among rolling hills with a crystal-clear lake in the distance. Welcome to Silver Lake, Calder said, as they stepped onto the platform. This is where my mother grew up, where I spent summers as a child. It's beautiful, Lena said, breathing in the fresh country air. Calder led her to a small cottage overlooking the lake. It was charming and rustic, with a porch swing and flower boxes in the windows. This was my grandparents' house, Calder explained as he unlocked the door. It's mine now. I come here sometimes when the city gets too much, when I need to remember what really matters. Inside, the cottage was cozy and warm, filled with comfortable furniture and family photos. It couldn't have been more different from Calder's modern city house. This is the real you, Lena realized, looking around at the worn books on the shelves, the handmade quilts, the fishing rods in the corner. This is where you feel most like yourself. It was, Calder agreed. Until I met you. Now, home is wherever you and Harvey are. As the sun began to set, turning the lake to liquid gold, Calder led Lena to the porch swing. They sat side by side, watching the spectacle in comfortable silence. This is why I brought you here, Calder said finally. To show you all of me. The CEO, yes, but also the boy who learned to fish in that lake. The teenager who had his first kiss on this porch. The man who dreams of bringing his children here someday. He turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. Lena Hart, I have never been more certain of anything in my life than I am of my love for you. You and Harvey have brought joy and meaning into my world that I never thought possible. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a small velvet box. This was my grandmother's, he said, opening it to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. Nothing flashy or ostentatious. Just like her and like you, its beauty comes from its strength, its clarity, its ability to shine even in darkness. Lena's heart pounded as Calder slid off the swing and down onto one knee before her. I don't want to spend another day without you both in my life completely, he said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. Will you marry me, Lena? Will you and Harvey make a family with me? Tears spilled down Lena's cheeks as she nodded, too overwhelmed to speak at first. Yes, she finally managed. Yes to all of it. As Calder slipped the ring onto her finger, Lena pulled him back up beside her on the swing. She rested her head on his shoulder, that strong, steady shoulder that had first supported her when she was too tired to hold herself up. So, Calder said softly, his arm around her, holding her close. Does this mean I can be your pillow forever? Lena smiled through her tears, remembering the question from the premise of their story, the question that had started it all. Only if you never ask me to wake up alone again, she whispered, echoing the answer she was always meant to give. Never, Calder promised, sealing the vow with a kiss as the last rays of sunlight danced across the lake. From now on, we wake up together. The face in time way.